Good morning, everyone. I'm Brian Fisher, manager of the Media Relations Division for the Prince George's County Police Department. I'd like to welcome the members of the press today and thank you for being here. And I'm joined by the county's public safety leader and police department command staff. They will be providing information about the department's summer crime initiative. First, I'd like to introduce Deputy Chief Administrative Office of Public Safety and Homeland Security, Mr. Barry Stanton.
Good morning. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to address you today. On behalf of Angela Alston-Brooks, County Executive, it is our goal this morning to provide you with an update on the Police Department's Summer Crime Initiative. Our goals and strategies this summer is to protect our community and reduce crime. Chief Aziz and his command staff will discuss what his department's plans are for the summer in fighting crime. Let me just say this. School is out. The weather is hot. Social interaction have increased and boredom has set in. This is a perfect combination for increased crime in the summer. Summer usually results in a rise in crime and has been an ongoing fact over the years. The county executive has invested in summer jobs as well as other activities for thousands of youth in our county. Chief Aziz has created the Office of Community First, which has led the state in community policing and building bridges to our residents through so many interactive events in the county. Shop with a Cop, steering wheels, lot giveaways, coffee clubs, cops and cars, neighborhood walks, listening to concerns and talking about problems in our community. But let me just say this. Parents have an important role in helping lower crime this summer in Prince George's County. I say to the parents, again, as our county executive has said many times, know where your children are and who they are with. There's no reason for a child to be out at 3 o'clock in the morning. That is ridiculous. Let's provide some oversight. Nothing good happens at 3 o'clock in the morning. Police cannot do it all. They cannot do it by themselves. We need the community's help. We need the parents' help this summer. There must be responsibility, and as I said before, and I will continue to say, consequences for those that commit crimes, especially for repeat offenders. There must be accountability, and accountability at all levels of the criminal justice system. Some juveniles have been arrested, as you know, multiple times. We've said that in many press conferences before, yet they continue to victimize our community. We want that to stop. We want to work on making sure that occurs. There are many ways we can reduce crime over the summer, including not leaving valuables in your car, leaving your car running and unattended, keeping house lights on at night, having an outdoor camera, and not giving your personal information to anyone who is trying to steal your money through one of the many scams that hurt so many of our citizens and especially our seniors. So today, working together, the community and the police, we believe we can make a difference. We believe we can reduce crime over the summer. If you know something, if you see something, call Crime Solvers. 1-2-866-411-TIPS. And now I would like to have Chief Aziz come up and give you a more detailed overview of our summer crime initiative for Prince George's County. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Stanton. Chief Malik Aziz, Chief of Police, Prince George's County. Historically, crime increases during the summer months when schools are closed. Our county executive, Ms. Angela Also Brooks, has focused on the safety of our residents, and she's invested heavily in summer youth enrichment programs. Over 6,000 youth will participate. Her summer passport experience, where over 1,000 children will be exposed to entrepreneurship, arts, science, and education. The overwhelming majority of the residents of Prince George's County are great people, great residents doing the right thing every single day. The Prince George's County Police Department, including myself and our command staff, we meet regularly with community leaders, residents, businesses, faith leaders, and our youth. I also take the time to thank the many men and women involved in police work every day who do a very vibrant and robust job of serving our residents. And as I've said many times before, policing is a 50-50 partnership with the community, 50-50. Collective partnerships are the best solution to these challenging times of rising crime. Our Summer Crime Initiative is an extension of our current practices with a strategic deployment of officers to address youth violence, carjackings, illegal guns, and other violations. We have implemented an innovative strategy involving hexagon grids, which are about 1,000 meters in diameter, in which we will focus. It enables us to target the smaller areas of crime. Again, this is to enable us to be more focused. We cannot arrest our way out of a problem. We cannot arrest our way out of a crime problem. I'll say it again, we cannot arrest our way out of a crime problem. We will continue to use intelligence to coordinate prevention and enforcement efforts. Officers will be assigned to specific areas, and we are supporters and contributors of programs such as Vision Zero, where traffic units will be deployed that will enhance enforcement to reduce crashes, address car meetups, racing and speeding, car fatalities, and crime. Our strategic investigations and narcotics enforcement divisions will be utilizing the best tools to reduce carjacking and gang violence. We will proactively check on businesses and build on youth-driven partnerships. Our media relations division will continue to send out crime prevention tips and keep you updated on Prince George's County Police Department's actions. Our Community First Division and our Bureau of Patrol Community Engagement units will continue to develop partnerships through the community engagement by building and strengthening trust and communication between the police department and our residents. The Police Athletic Activities League explores in numerous additional initiatives that include feeding the hungry, collecting toys for holidays, coat drives, blood drives, and so many citizens-involved civic events. We have passed out a list of youth activities so you can see what we're involved in. But one of the most important partnerships we have is you, the media. You give a voice to the victims of crime. You assist us in identifying and bringing violators to justice. You help us find missing people, identify suspects, and so much more. Last year, there was a curfew implemented to safeguard our youth and reduce crime. The curfew yielded the intended results, and many have asked if it will be implemented as part of the Summer Crime Initiative. The answer is that implementing the curfew remains a viable tool. However, it is not in the first phase of this part of our Summer Crime Initiative. We intend to keep it as a tool as we assess and evaluate and reevaluate this initiative. Again, our focus is on community, prevention, and enforcement. Challenging times require us to work collectively in a vision of our county executive, Ms. Also Brooks, with our other county departments, with Sheriff Carr in the Prince George's County Sheriff's Office, with State Attorney Braveboy in the State's Attorney's Office, the judges, schools, juvenile services, not-for-profit organizations, and our municipal police departments, and anyone else who has a desire to have a better and safer Prince George's County, where we live, work, where our children play. I spoke about the enforcement parts of it. Indulge me for a few to talk about the enforcement aspects. While we cannot arrest our way out of any crime problem, it is continues to be a necessary part and a necessary piece of the solution. Our focus will be on the crime triangle that addresses persons, places, and behaviors. And we believe by removing one of those components, then thereby crime is reduced. We hope to focus on quality arrest instead of the quantity of arrest. The crime triangle that we implement identifies the three factors of criminal offenses. That person who is desiring to commit a crime, we're targeting that desire and that opportunity for a crime to be committed, thereby breaking it up and producing fewer victims in order to reduce crime here in Prince George's County. The necessary components has been intelligence. We will continue using intelligence-led, data-driven analysis in our Joint Analysis Intelligence Center to identify locations where violent crimes occur most often and to coordinate enforcement and high visibility in those areas within the Bureau of Patrol and our other related departments and our partners. We have identified hot zones or focus zones. Officers assigned to specific geographic zones only to leave for high priority calls, proactively checking businesses, gathering intelligence, and enforcing the quality of life issues while deterring violent crime. It is still a countywide redeployment from personnel from all over Prince George's County Police. We'll be readjusting hours and working locations to reduce crime in those targeted and focused areas. Our WAVE unit, the Washington Area Vehicle Enforcement Unit, and the Carjackings Interdiction Unit will work in conjunction with other marked patrol units. We also will address this weekend fireworks and gatherings that have proven to be problematic on visible and problematic locations gathered from intelligence from the past, as holidays are included in the summer crime plan and the activities that surround them all the way through Labor Day. Our traffic enforcement units deployed strategically to conduct traffic enforcement operations to reduce traffic accidents and fatalities. Overtime initiatives such as our criminal apprehension suppression teams who go out every day working proactively, identifying locations, areas of interest, and reducing violence by arresting individuals who have an intention on committing criminal acts in our county. The primary focused areas, each division has a primary focused area, although there are many sub areas in the division that we will focus on, but the primary locations, an example, Division 1 in Hyattsville, University Boulevard in the Lewisdale area, Division 2 around Truman and Good Luck, Division 3, the Kentland area, Division 4, Southern Avenue and Wheeler, Division 5, Branch Avenue and Old Branch Avenue, Division 6, that's the Laurel, Bowie Road, Conti area, Fort Washington in Division 7, and Division 8 is Marlboro Pike and Brooks Drive. But there are many components to those areas that we'll be working diligently in and strategically in to reduce crime and a really hard push to drive home a more focused delivery of what we have to work with. I will say, I mentioned the statistics in the past. Many times we have met here to talk about the violence that has, rising violence or more visible violence, or the type of violence that garners the attention of community and which in turn garners the attention of media to address some of these violent issues. And our last year, going into this time for July and August, which were our hardest months to police last year, that we've seen a rise in carjackings. We've seen a rise in homicides the following month. That has given us a great concern to address these challenging months ahead, starting just before this July 4th weekend. We've been working in a soft push implementing these things with our hexagon grids, a more focused deployment to get ahead of it. And we believe the impact that we can have in July and August subsequently will reduce victims, thereby reducing crime. So with that said, our future goal, our real goal, is to have a real comprehensive public safety plan, one that we realize that the police are only one cog in this solution, and that you heard me mention our other counterparts earlier, and the agencies that help us in the quest to reduce crime in Prince George's County. So we'll continue to do those things and working in a comprehensive public safety plan in order to address them diligently. In this area, the DMV, our relationship with the chiefs in the other jurisdictions hasn't been better, as well as our municipal police departments. So I look forward to continue to work along the border, along the line where some of our problems lie with the interim chief Benedict over at MPD. We work almost weekly, and we speak, talking about these issues that have plagued all counties and jurisdictions, or the district that borders us from Virginia to the district, to Montgomery County, to the other contiguous counties in Prince George's or next to Prince George's County. With that said, I'll now take a few questions, and I have my executive team behind me if needed to drill down and address some of the more specific issues. So with that, I'll open up the floor.
Good afternoon, Yamari with DC News Now. To my understanding, there was a crime initiative, summer initiative last year. I guess with this time around, what will be the difference and how effective will it really be?
What we do is, this is our third summer crime initiative, and we've gotten better and more adjusted to how we deploy strategically our strategy and our tactics, even in a rapidly changing environment. Even the categories last year, the ones that plagued us, from carjackings and the rise in homicides for that month in our history of record keeping, the homicides in August, we went from, one homicide is too many. One person, one family grieving from a loved one is too many. But when you have 24 homicides and you average 8, then of course that those numbers are thrown off. Carjackings, the escalation of carjackings for many variables. This year, it calls for a more strategic deployment, as I mentioned, with the hexagon, the grids. What we have decided from close analysis of the empirical data from last year and the year before was to deploy in smaller geographical areas in order to address those crimes. What has been shown that is different now, what has been shown is that those smaller areas that we drill down into in those grids will enable us to actually have a crime reduction. Of course, there's so many other variables that go into it to make these things possible. But I think that is the major difference from community, that we lean heavily on the community. I say this so often that we cannot do anything without a engaged community. And then it is prevention, the prevention aspects of what we do every single day, and the enforcement. And the enforcement must be metered in a way that it is productive and it is engaging and it is beneficial to our residents that we serve. Go ahead.
Chief, summer crime initiative, kids getting, a lot of this is talking about juveniles, right?
Yes.
Right. So of late, I've looked into some cases where we've had kids that have done repeat crimes, 4 and 5 non-arrests, treated as juveniles, released, catch and release. Yesterday, I went to Cheltenham. I talked to a kid who was an armed carjacker and repeat offender. And this young man said that if he had been held after his first one, that he probably wouldn't have done the second one. And he said that if so many kids weren't getting slaps on the wrist, they probably would stop as well. Do you feel it is time to hold more of these juveniles rather than just cycling them back out?
Of course, I think you, and I saw your story. And I've been to Cheltenham with my team myself, and I've talked to the small group of individuals that they had held myself. So I want to say this before I answer your question. Those young people, we throw away behaviors, but we don't throw away people. And those young people who were detained, incarcerated in Cheltenham, interestingly enough, had dreams of being professionals and working and being a productive member of society. Meanwhile, they had some really terrible and heinous crimes where they victimized people in our community, up in neighboring counties in Maryland. And so we put that on the forefront, that we must serve to the interests of making sure that they are delivered the proper resources. So I'll say this, it's nothing uncommon to what we haven't heard. I've heard this in my previous assignment. I've heard that since I got here. My first trip out here at a community event in one of our municipalities for a Saturday event, and a group of returning citizens who had formed a not-for-profit organization doing very valuable work. He said this. He said, "No, I didn't hear anybody until I got locked up. I didn't hear them. There was nothing you could tell me. There was nothing you could say to me." That has been repeated in multiple places that I have been for men who have been through the system and said, "I didn't hear anything until my freedom was stopped. And then I had to pay attention." And that is what you heard yesterday. So what we have is a more focused delivery on that side, that we have to have accountability at all times. We have admitted in the police profession, and here, for me at least, that I acknowledge that we could not arrest our way out of a crime problem. And that was one end. And then there's this other end that thinks that you can let everybody go. And that is some equally, a viable option, which has not proven to be successful. And that means that we must be here. And the Prince George's County Police Department is here, admittingly so, that we cannot arrest our way out. But those resources on the other end, when people are incarcerated and held accountable and given the necessary resources, that must play out on the other side. There is no avenue to have a belief that we can allow people to victimize decent, hard-working residents or people and go and get out and have zero consequences, which they know. Many of the young people and emerging adults have told the men and women, our leaders, our police officers, let us go. Nothing's going to happen to us. We'll keep on doing it because this is the system, because they know what is right and what is wrong. And what we have to deliver is the consequences to that, with accountability, with love, with care, but with the victim in mind first, and then addressing the resources with the suspects later. So I understand what you just said, and it has been repeated to us numerous times from people who have actually served time.
Hey, Chief, the hexagon system, you're a data guy. You've made that clear to us. You also talked about reducing the number of victims. And I think what I was hearing, and I'd like to hear your additional comments on, we have less victimization. Frequently, you have less incentive to do follow-on crimes and retaliation type crimes. Does that play into the data here? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I can, let me say this, giving, kudos to my team. Nothing happens without our intelligence center, and under the leadership of the acting deputy chief Klein and Captain Jason Smith and manager Alan Lee in that center, who spend a lot of time looking at the empirical data, the inputs, and it has been demonstrated in multiple locations, in multiple cities, that when we use the data and the empirical data from the years before, to and predictive analysis and evidence-based policing to apply those things that would reduce the victimization. But they have to work in not just with the data that we know where to go. It has to be in conjunction with the community understanding what is happening in their area, and that community has to be engaged with the prevention aspect. So we do believe that data that we're putting out and working in that triangle of things with those sub components that would deliver less opportunities for crime, less victimization, thereby reducing crimes. Less victims equal less crime.
Hi, Chief. We know on Saturday there's going to be the new recreational marijuana law taking effect. Does the department anticipate a lot more cannabis-related DUIs, and is there any strategy for that this summer?
I think the best way to understand what is going to happen to the future is look at the past. Since our past is across the nation, those states and local police departments have all produced data that says all of those things go up. So I would have an expectation that Maryland would be no different, that we're going to have an increased fatalities. We're going to have increased public intoxication, increased usages of marijuana in public, increased usage, increased robberies associated with the black market that hasn't went away in those locations. It's still vibrant. So if those states are indicative of what will happen in the future, then I would expect no less in Maryland. Yes.
So you're saying the curfew wouldn't be implemented until phase 2. Is that then a short thing, or when could we see a curfew?
Well, what we plan on doing is having a constant evaluation, a constant reevaluation of this summer crime initiative on a daily basis. Behind me is Deputy Chief McCreary over the Bureau of Patrol, who will be diligently working and focused with his team, making sure that we look at those individual inputs. If the curfew has never went away, it's always been there. It's been here since 1995. We designed an operation. Our county executive looked at things, and we met and with the DCAO, and we decided that a curfew would be in order to address the issues that plagued us last year upon high carjackings, high juvenile crime, and a unprecedented month of murder. So what we plan on doing now is to reevaluate this plan on a constant day-to-day basis, focusing on young people, on juveniles who may be out involved. And if necessary, we will put a sub-operation in place to address that with the curfew. But it's still there. The officers still have the right to do it. It's just not in a formalized operation.
Chief, you talked about a program targeting your efforts, young people. You're talking to us. What would you say to them?
Well, I'll tell you what I have said to them. It is, not hypothetically speaking. I've held multiple real talks with young people, talking about the issues. And this is not some one solution, one avenue of talking, one road to go down with young people. They are a microcosm of young people across the United States, but they also are not monolithic. They don't think in the same groupthink patterns or collective thinking. And groups of them who we have talked to face, they have differentiated themselves and distanced themselves from their counterparts. They're saying there's no accountability. That's what they're saying. They're saying that they aren't being addressed. They're saying the parents are not involved. They're asking us, we're secondary. The police are secondary. They figure this out, that the police are not a total solution. They're saying, what will happen to them? We're the problem. When we do good, we're the problem. When we want to live a positive life, we're the problem. When we don't want to engage in those issues, we're the problem. This is what they've said to me. So what I listen to them, nothing that the police department, the adults would say to young people who are going to be the ones to inherit our society, to progress it and make it go further. I heard them. And what I asked them, saying to them, is then what will you contribute to being part of the greater solution with what you just said? And a lot of them, they want to have more talks. They want to have more resources. They want to have more accountability. And they are driving that. And I think for the components inside the criminal justice system, that fragile criminal justice ecosystem, that we need to hear them, that they are asking for these things and they want to see them played out. So we decided that it wouldn't be adult driven, that we wouldn't tell them what they needed, that they would tell us how to best go about in the process to get to both of the desired results, the results that we desire, the police department, the residents who live and work in this community, and everyone who touches their lives. I'm sorry, Brad, let me get this question over here.
During the summer, how do the department?
I can't hear you.
During the summer, how do the department is going to address the issue with the carpet ops and the illegal strippers?
Yeah, we have addressed, we have implemented a plan already to address those things. We have pulled together resources of officers who are meeting collectively on specific times and hours to address those problematic locations that we have identified over the past years. Behind me is Acting Deputy Chief Tony Klein. He is spearheading that part of it with the Bureau of Patrol with Deputy Chief McCreary. So we are deploying. We are constantly monitoring the social media. We are constantly gathering the intelligence to make a meaningful deployment. And here's the good thing about it. When there are no car meetups, because these are sporadic, they meet up, they're very quick, they're very flashy, and they go do these things that make, national news, doing terrible things in a car and even sometimes hurting people. But when they're not addressing those, they are coming back to strategic locations inside of those areas that I mentioned to actually deliver a policing service to that area. So it's twofold. And we're dealing with this problem, nationwide. And I think there's a lot more things from, legislation purposes and enforcement purposes that we're going to have to add to the tool chest to address them more meaningfully.
Thank you for having this. I'm Cheyenne from WTOP News. You started this conversation talking about how important parents are in this equation. What do you have to say to parents that are struggling themselves and are worried about maybe not having the resources to send their students to, some of these summer programmings? Can you talk a little bit about Angela also Brooks' investments to make these programs more affordable for parents?
Well, let me answer the part that I can answer. The real issue here for parents who say that, and we do have parents that, I would say reach out. That's why we passed out that information. People often ask us, what are we doing? And how are we addressing the police department or engaging with young people? So you have a long laundry list of programs that we have at minimal cost, because we have minimal cost. But I would say this to the people who are in your circle, who don't let that be a hindrance for the parents who don't have the resources to engage with us and partner with us, that we will find a way. They have my commitment that we will find a way to get their young person involved inside of a program. I would be remiss unless the DCAO wants to speak. I can't speak on the county executive part.
Yeah, and let me just say this. The county executive has been consistent. We want to help our youth. If the parents don't have the resources, reach out to county government, reach out to the police department, and we will provide the resources, whether it's counseling, whether it's services. We've increased jobs for our youth in this county under this county executive. So we believe this county executive has created the resources for the parents. The parents have to reach out. And we know sometimes it's tough. We know it's tough. I've been there when I was growing up as a youth and a single parent. And so if the government can help, if the police department can help, our goal is to help our youth. We are not going to arrest our way out of this problem. But let's be clear, parents, we cannot have our youth out there 3 o'clock in the morning with no supervision. And the answer cannot be the Prince George's County Police Department.
Yes. You want to answer this? So a different approach on parent accountability. Maryland law allows parents to be held accountable for the actions of their juveniles. Right. Is it time to start ordering restitution for the ignition and the Kia?
Well, let me just say this. I'm not going to speak for the criminal justice system or the prosecutor. Personally, I think we're at a point where I think we need to look at holding our parents accountable if they have their kids out there 3 o'clock in the morning with no supervision. But again, somebody needs to make that decision. That's not from me. But I believe we need to take a look at that approach.
I will add that there are some positive things in that fragile, criminal justice ecosystem. There's, Judge Pearson has introduced a program that he is working through some of those things. I think those have a promising start, things that we need more of. And we still need accountability in the system. All cogs have to work in unison with each other in order for us to have a better and safer Prince George's County. And so many times it has been a focus on the police department to resolve or solve everything associated with crime. I say it, in these circles and with my staff, that's a little too much TV, a little too many movies. It doesn't work that way. And so we have to be real and honest with this system, is that it's okay for the police to stand, that we do our part, and we want to play a visible role, and we want to be entrusted with the community and engage with the community. And we are not a single component in the system. So I would, ask them to join us. Let's join together and form a mighty fist to have the courage to actually address the issues. The words are easy. We say these words relatively easy. The actions are more difficult. And those actions, that we have to have the courage to have the actions to go with it. And that comes with accountability, love, and care. I'll take a couple more questions if you have them. And
Can you say there's a double fatal shooting yesterday at a hotel? There's some buzz in the community that these were reasonably well-known rappers in the community. Can you tell us anything about what happened?
Yeah, I don't know. I was informed that they were local rappers, and I don't know if that is meaningful or not. What is meaningful is that we made 2 arrests. We have 2 people in custody who committed that crime. Our investigators under Acting Deputy Chief O'Lair behind me, his team is working diligently to put all the pieces of that together. But we made the arrest of those individuals. They did some really great police work really quickly to bring those people to justice. And we're still working through it to find out actually what the connections were and what actually happened. I would be speculating right now without the total proof to say what the connection was, but we did make the arrest. Over here.
To go behind the question about the camps, as a parent, looking for camps was quite difficult in the means of finding something that was long enough to house my kids throughout the summer, and then something that was affordable. When you go through the county, a lot of these programs are 2 weeks long, and they're $300 to $400 for 2 weeks. And post-COVID, everything has increased. So I can understand why most parents may be working 2 jobs now in the evening, and these kids are at home without parents, or the simple fact that we can't even put kids in camps because it's just too expensive, or it's too short of time to find something long enough. Now, I was able to find a program that's a 9-week grant-funded program. Is there a way that we can have a one-stop shop to be able to put this online? Because as a parent, it was hard to find this. I found this out through my child's school, but it was at the last minute, and I did have to come out of pocket this year, but I know next year that I don't have to, but I just found out about this program. Is there a way that we could build a one-stop shop to create a list of grant-funded programs or programs that extend longer, or maybe initiate that, so that way we don't have to worry about how finding longer camps for our kids, because they're 2 weeks long, that's it, and then they're out. So it would just be good to have a place where parents can go to find all this information.
I agree with what you said. We need to do a better job of putting that. You have my commitment that I'll get to work on that today to engage the county components with that. I think overall, when I mention not-for-profit organizations, non-governmental organizations, when we have so many resources in communities and in other jurisdictions that are serving youth for the summer. And I think it would be incumbent upon on us, from hearing you as a parent, that we should have some more meaningful engagement to make those things come to reality for longer programs, because I realize in the modern age, not the industrial or the agricultural age, that kids are out of school and they need to be out of school doing something that occupies their time. And we have to do a better job of getting that out. But I'll start to work on that. I agree with you. And we have to do a better job in multidisciplinary teams making that a reality. I'll take one more question and then.
Have there been any updates on any arrests in the 320s last Thursday?
No, the Acting Deputy Chief Olaire? Yeah.
Good afternoon. We did make apprehensions on all of the suspects involved in the Greg Street homicide last week. They are all in custody as of today. Other than that, all the other cases are still in preliminary investigation for the week. Adults, I believe.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming. If you have any additional questions after that, please see Brian Fisher of Media Relations Division or Ms. Cotterman, and then we'll get those questions answered. Thank you so much.